Welcome to this tutorial on Allegro Moderato. So first of all, congrats on finishing book 1. Super exciting. And now we're on to book 2 of the set by Faber. So usually in the beginning of these books, there's always a review piece. So this is one of them for book 2. And yeah, everything that you have learned from book 1 is all within this piece. Majority of the concepts. So we have blocked chords in the key of G major. There's our G major scale. And then also incorporating long vocal or musical lines. And articulation, difference between legato versus staccato, being able to combine the long melodic line with changing of chords. That's a pretty common technique that we've been working on for quite a while. And that's also apparent in the B section on page 2 of this piece. And then dynamics, of course, always a must. So kind of following the general approach with the melodic line ascending, we want to also do a little bit of a crescendo, a little bit of a swell going up the scale, and then a diminuendo on the way down. So let's go ahead and hear what this piece sounds like all together. So we do have a couple of repeats. So just kind of navigating through the piece overall, we have our A section starting here up to here. Here's a repeat. We got to go back 2 times. And then for the B section, notice that there's a repeat sign here, meaning when we get to this B section, we're going to play to this repeat, go back to measure 9, not to the beginning, back to measure 9, and then we skip over to number 2 ending. All right, so let's give it a go. And there you have it. Pretty cute piece, pretty short. All right, let's dive in. So hopefully by this point, we are pretty confident with our 1 chord or G major, if we're in the key of G, 1 chord, and the 5/7 or D7. So hopefully we're really comfortable with being able to switch between the two. So just keeping in mind again, as a reminder, the fact that you have that F sharp on the pinky. If you're way out here, it's a little harder to be switching. So pinky is a pretty short finger, right? So if you're way down here, it's harder to get up to there quickly. So instead, I like to keep the hand kind of centered in the center of the keys. So that way my pinky doesn't have to reach that far to get to the F sharp. So keeping that in mind as you're playing through this piece, I would suggest just keeping it centered all throughout the entire piece so you don't have to think about it too much. All right, so initially, let's go ahead and start with our melody. We're gonna go from measure 1 to 4. And just as a warm-up, let's consider doing the G major scale. And remembering that the fingering is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So once we get that in our fingers a bit, we are ready to start this first slur into measure 4 at the end of measure 4. So that's just the first 4 bars. So with the scale going up, noticing that there's a change in the rhythm, and I find when I've taught this piece in the past, measure 3 tends to be played way too fast, because prior to that, you're doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you have to switch to a slower, quote unquote, slower rhythm, slower feeling of a rhythm. But if you're really keeping that subdivision, rhythmic subdivision, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So just keeping that in mind as you're going through that little scale up and down. Next thing, even though we're just focusing on the melody, we still want to create that swell. So factoring in the crescendo to the top and coming back down. And if you want, as a practice, you can just play all of that legato. So not even worry about the staccatos. Just getting used to the fingering. And then as you're going through, you can add the shortness when you get to the 3rd finger. And then it's going to repeat that melody again with the swell of the scale going up and down. And then measure 8 is a little bit different. So if we're jumping straight to measure 8, we got 3, 4, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 3. So let's actually dissect those last 2 bars of each phrase. So we have 3 and 4, 7 and 8. So doing a comparison. So measure 3 and 4. Measure 7 and 8. So keeping a mental note, that's going to be a little bit different. And then if you need to write in fingering at any point, feel free to do so. So that would be 3, 4, 2, 1, if that's kind of tripping you up a bit as you get to it with your practice. Okay, meanwhile, with the left hand, there's not really too much happening. Just chords. And then let's pick apart measure 4 real quick. So how I like to think about that is really getting the 2s aligned for those staccatos, and they go up a step together. So 3, 2, up a step. So that might take some getting used to. So if we're getting into it, 3, 2, up a step. All right, measure 7. We have a hold, 2, 3, 4, rest, 5, 7, 1. So again, that's where keeping the hand centered in the center of the keys is going to help, because that 5-7 kind of comes up out of nowhere. So yeah, we got 4, 3, 2, 1, rest, 5-7. I would suggest trying that measure on its own, measure 8, quite a few times, getting used to the rest on the downbeat for the left hand. All right, let's consider B section now. So let's tackle left hand first. So this is where we get to use a little bit of this rotation of the wrist. Even with the 2-1, you can incorporate a little bit of wrist. 3-1, 4-1. So as a warm-up, let's try a little exercise before trying it as written. So let's consider doing 5-1, little rocking, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, and then we're going to go down, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. And then we could try it a bit faster, like 5-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. All right. Ooh, that was a pretty good warm-up. Okay. So as written, we're doing, so notice that on beat 3, that bottom note goes slightly down, so it's down 1 step. So we have 4-1, 5-1. And taking note of rhythm too. So kind of what I was mentioning with the melody at measure 3 and 4, where we have eighths and then all of a sudden switches to quarters. So keep that rhythmic 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and subdividing in your mind. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then it's going to do the same for the next bar. 2, 1, 3, 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Back to the 4-1, measure 11. Rest. So this time, we're not doing the bottom note of the chord, just the top 2, which is a lot easier, right? So that's cool. And then if we're going to second ending from measure 11, rest, 5-7, 1. And of course, with the writ there, you can definitely slow down a bit to catch that 5-7 chord. All right, switching over to right hand. 2 super short on these. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Got to consider the repeat. A little bit softer on the repeat. Jumping to second ending. So I would definitely practice that transition from measure 12 back to measure 9, because it goes 4 and 1. So the eyes have to dart up to measure 9, which can be a little tricky at first. So measure 12 to 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So getting that locked in. And then also measure 11 to 12. 11 to the second ending. So 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So just kind of take a few repetitions with those particular measures, and then try adding the both hands. So with the both hands, if this is a bit too challenging, with a little short when you're doing the rotation in the other hand, maybe take out the staccato initially, so, which is okay. No staccatos. Second ending. So that's just for the sake of being able to align everything correctly with rhythm and also getting used to the melody, right? And then when you feel a bit more comfortable, just try one measure at a time. So like measure 9. You could even do just the 4s. Practice holding this while you're doing a short in the right. Add another note. Just try that. And then add the next beat together. And you can repeat that process for measure 10. And measure 11. Whoop. Or etc. All right, hope you enjoy this piece. I'm going to go ahead and play the duet in case you want to try it with me. And we'll be doing a pretty moderate tempo. So like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Not too crazy, pretty chill. So you can follow along. I'm going to play the duet. If you want to do the duet part octave higher, that's okay. Or if you want to stay put, either way will work. Okay, so we still have to consider doing the repeat. So here we go. 1 and 2 and ready, here we go.